Big truck, what it do? Man, hey, it's your big homie Fiend for the money. Whoop, womp, womp. Hey, peace and love, man. Keep your head up, stay positive. You heard me, delay is not a denial.
Now, first thing first, one thing I forgot to mention and bring up is there's always an argument that you could find on pretty much any trucking channel, including mine, all right? And it's going to be an argument versus leasing versus owning an authority versus company driver versus local driver versus OTR and all of that shit, right? So to end all of that right now, I'm going to say this. When I was new to trucking, I bought into them arguments. I don't buy that shit no more. Now, that being said, we gon' kill that one in the door, okay? We just gonna completely be done with it, right? So, if your question, or if you basically haven't had your feel of OTR versus local versus company driver versus owning on authority, who makes more money versus leasing, that's a big one. That's still a big one, leasing versus owning authority, owning your own truck, this, that, so forth and so on. To nip all of that in the bud, and this is what I gotta say to anybody that's still arguing about them things, all right? It's been over 6 years, right? Over 6 years, and this argument is still going on. So my response to it is this, and it should end it for all, any and everybody at this stage, right? You can make money a lot of different ways in trucking. How you choose to do it, who you choose as a mentor, so forth and so on, is gonna dictate, and how you come into the game, so forth and so on, as far as financing, or your financial status, I should say, and things like that. That's gonna dictate how long you stay in this game and if you survive it. All right. So now, that being said, that's pretty much, that's over with, right? So we over with for that, right? So now let's get into it. If someone was to pose them questions to me, right? I want to give you a story, right? I'm gonna give you a story real quick. I worked at a prison for 15 years, right? And every single day, you get what I'm saying? Every single day, you had guys in the day room, on the yard, so forth and so on. And guess what one of their arguments was? Who was the greatest rapper, Biggie or Pac? Right? And after a while, I used to go to, when I go to sleep before I go to work, I'm hearing these discussions in my head over and over and over. I used to call them nightmares. And all it was these guys just talking back and forth about the same shit. Who's the greatest rapper, Biggie or Pac? All these other nigga ass arguments. All right. So as Jay-Z say, So with let me stay on track. Right. So I've dropped Jay-Z verse in there, so y'all get where I'm going with this. So that being said, I call them conversations nigga shit. All right. Now, the reason I say that is not that it's not important, that you don't need to know the answer to, or the answer to them questions and so forth and so on. It's just that them conversations just become circular and go nowhere. You could find someone in each one of them fields doing decent, right? So again, this comes down to you and what you trying to do and what you're going to bring to the table, how hard you're going to go at it, so forth and so on, you know. And again, what I'm saying is, no matter which one you choose, authority owner, leasing, local versus OTR versus Class B trucking, whatever you choose, you can survive and thrive. All right? Survive and thrive. No matter which one you choose, you just need to get the right mentor, come in there with the right resources, and have your finances together. And with the exception of, let's say, the company driver. You just need to drive that damn truck. All right? So, to me, that's the end of that argument right there. It's over with. We don't need to never have that damn argument no more. All right? Because it's again, it just becomes, it's an argument that goes nowhere. I remember my first time on Zello. I was on Zello in the trucking group, and they probably still up too. You know what? They are still up. Trucking something. So we were in this group, and these guys, and they was talking about the same thing that I'm talking about right now. And about 6-7 of the guys was talking about eventually getting their own authority. They was company drivers. A few of them was talking about getting their own truck. You know, a bunch of them did getting their own truck. To my knowledge, none of them end up getting their own authority, but it was a few of us in there that had our own authority, and they were telling the authority owners that you wasn't making no money. It was a dead end. You have to have freight like JB Hunt. You can't live off the load board. You can't get direct shippers. This, that, and other. And we had authority owners. I myself brung an authority owner to the group to tell these guys that, hey, this guy's got literally about 6 or 7 contracts or direct shipping, direct shippers. I'm literally telling these guys. They didn't believe. They did not believe that authority owners could get a direct shipper, or that it was even possible, and so forth and so on. And it got to the point to where, it became that nigga shit. I just don't know what else to say about it. I don't know what else to call it, or else how to label it. And long story short, I logged into the group about a week or a month or so ago, and guess what they were still talking about? The same shit. Some of them have gotten a truck, and mighty arrogant too, I might say. He know who I'm talking about. So, but outside of that, the arguments were still there, having those same basic ass arguments, and it's like, in 6 damn years or more, y'all took one step at most, and that was about it, and you're still arguing about something that you never done. You get what I'm saying? They never done it, and they still have all these opinions and arguments about it, and all this conversation. So much so that when we tried, the authority owners who tried to have a conversation with them and telling the guys who was willing to listen about it, most of the time we couldn't even get a chance to talk, because these guys were talking about all the negatives and all the impossibles, and oh, it ain't real, or such a line, or you did not get that load for 100 miles for $2,000, and just a whole slew of shit, This was some years ago, but like I said, I logged into it recently, and they was talking about the same shit. I swear to you, and it, to me personally, it was draining. it just drained me. I only was able to tolerate it so much when I was new. Yeah, I listened to it. Yeah, I listened to that shit. But as I got more and more experience, I threw that shit in the trash can because I just can't hear it. I can't even allow it in my space. You know what I'm saying? It does nothing for me. It's just a waste of time. And sometimes we got plenty of time driving up the road, so forth and so on. We got no time but bullshit, giggle, laugh, so forth and so on. But when you making moves, you ain't got time for that shit. You know, maybe as background noise, if you could tolerate that, I'd rather listen to a damn ebook. You know, than to listen to a bunch of motherfuckers don't know what the fuck they talking about, talking about something that they never done, but they want to school you on it, you know, or break the next man down on why they shouldn't be doing it, because you always got one guy following these loud voices, if you will, you know. So and being misled, if you will, you know. So like I said, a few of them come up out of it, got their truck, they took some steps, so forth and so on, and a few of them ready to make moves or going to make moves, this, that, and other. But what I'm saying in general was the bulk of them wasn't on shit and they didn't do shit and was in the same place that they was when they began. And hours and hours of conversation, days and days of conversation, for nothing. It just took you nowhere. It helped you achieve absolutely nothing. All right. So I give you that story because I want you to understand that you can get trapped in that. You know, you could walk in that trap unknowingly, asking and talking to or researching some of these topics. Going to a truck stop and ask them there any trucker in there. If it's 10 truckers in there, eight of them's gonna try to get you to believe what they believe is right and what you thinking is probably wrong, so forth and so on. Understand, most of these truckers got an agenda. Understand that, all right? Most of them trying to get you signed on to their company so they can get their fee or whatever it is. The other ones are happy with, as a older buddy of mine said, 8 and skate. Do they 8 or 14, if you will, and go home, you know, and have no desire to make trucking a business for them. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, people come into this and we all have our own biases, including myself. Okay, including myself. If you look at my prior videos, some of the stuff that I'm telling you is basically what I'm against to a certain degree, some of it, you know. So one thing I didn't do since day one, if you noticed on any of my videos, I never repped a company. You didn't hear me out here talking about Team Grubhub. You hear what I'm saying? You didn't hear me talking about Team JB. You didn't hear me doing that. And because I felt like, why market them? I'd rather market myself. Because if I put my name up here, JB Trucking, so forth and so on, 5 years down the road when I'm not working for JB Trucking, but that's my whole damn channel title. And most of the time you're going to see most people move on. They do a trucking job for a few years and they move on. Something that an old timer told me, and it turned out to be true, that I've learned. One thing, well, some of the advice that they said, I think there's a guy on I follow on Smart Trucking. He says, find a local mom and pop company. They're going to treat you the best and they're going to pay you right, and you're not going to be just another number. That's something I got from old boy on Smart Trucking, and that I have to give a thumbs up. For the most part, that is correct. But I will tell you this, none of these companies give a fuck about you. They may know your name at that mom and pop, but none of these trucking companies truly, they don't love you like family. You know, you are there to do a job, and to collect a check. Anything else is extra. You know what I'm saying? So if you there sitting on the desk, talking shit with the boss and so forth and so on, that's extra shit. You ain't getting paid for that shit. You get what I'm saying? If you're doing it on the time that you're supposed to be working, okay, that's a win-win. But outside of that, that's extra shit. You don't get paid for that shit. You get what I'm saying? So to be in a parking lot and talking to your fellow truckers and talking to your bosses or supervisors, whoever and so forth, they ain't paying you for that shit. You get what I'm saying? So I let people know in the door in a minute. Look, if you're gonna pay me some overtime or some extra cash or a bonus or something to sit up here and talk to you, I'll do just that. Outside of that, once our whatever need to be said as far as business and stuff, I'm gone. I'm not here to be friends. I could be cordial, but I'm not here to be your fucking friend. I'm here to collect a paycheck. So let me go work, collect my check, and go the fuck home. All right? So a lot of people get that misconstrued and misunderstood, and you always have one just hanging around on that butt, just swinging on that boss nut-sacks, just to swing it. So I don't get into that shit. My work is gonna show for itself and speak for itself. My work ethic is gonna keep me where I need to be, right? My experience is gonna let me achieve that and lateral up, if you will. Okay, so OTR, to get to that, yes, it is good to get your OTR and get it out the way. You can get around it. You can find a local truck driving job that's gonna take you, that will take you with hardly any experience out of trucking school. You're gonna have to call. You're gonna have to make a lot of phone calls, but you'll find somebody. They will take you. Another thing, well, basically, you can find it, but I recommend you, if you could get a few months, even just 2-3 months of a little OTR, just 2 or 3 months. I'm not saying give your whole life to the game, but that 2 or 3 months, when I first came in, I'm thinking like, why they care, so forth and so on. But after being OTR, I see why they care. Because you talk to a regular non-OTR driver about certain things that happen on OTR, and they have no clue. I mean, you got some drivers that don't know anything. I mean, CommCheck, EFS, CommData, how to work I promise you, they don't even know how to work a CommData card. They don't know the basics. To where there was one point, boss gave me a CommData card, gave another guy a CommData card. I took the CommData card with the PN and everything, and I was good. I was gone. It didn't take this. All it took was, okay, this is my EFS or CommData card. Okay, all right, so forth. This the PN. All right, driver ID. Okay, I'm done. That was it up for the conversation. I left, come back, 20-30 minutes. That this new guy still there trying to figure out the process on how to use that card. A lot of these companies don't want to have to deal with that. They just don't. It's unnecessary phone calls that they dealing with on top of what they already trying to do with as far as getting a job done. Now they got to walk you through something basic like how to use a CommData card, EFS check, the little things that you're gonna run to out on the road. You know what I'm saying? And whatnot. So some of the stuff, the way these truckings do things is kind of backwards anyway, in my opinion. I started with CR England, and I didn't. When I started with CR England, I'm like, you know what? This is kind of backwards, because they immediately after class sent us out to do over the road. I'm in mountains. I'm in all kind, and we had an all call and some of everybody calling in and complaining like, man, I don't have no experience, and I'm shifting these gears down these damn mountains and shit in less than a week, you know? And my trainers are asleep in the back. They're not lying. This is the type of shit you go through, right? To where I could get up and down the road. The hardest thing for me and most drivers with no experience or new to it is backing that damn truck in. Backing into a dock, backing into a spot, so forth and so on. So I always felt like once we got out of class, you should have immediately put us in to into a little local spot. Let us bump docks. A buddy of mine, Ostry, said this. He said, man, you OTR, but I'm local, you know? And for what I don't know, I can tell I do know this. I could bump a dock way better than you could ever dream of, because I'm hitting docks non-stop LTL. I'm hitting 10, 20 docks in a day plus, where you might be lucky to hit 1 or 2 docks or a parking spot. And he was right. He was right. Various docks, various hard docks, so forth and so on, you know. And I had hard docks or OTR, but again, it's going to take me a day or two, or if not more, to get to that dock, to bump that dock, where he's bumping 10, 20 plus docks in a day. He got his experience out the way with as far as bumping docks, right? So I always felt the process was backwards. To me, they should have let you run local for a little bit, and then after you got that local experience, then send you OTR for a little bit. You get what I'm saying? Or hell, if nothing else, let you spot trailers in the yard, come back for a few days and do nothing but spot trailers. All right. So again, that's just my opinion. I just felt like it should have went in that order. All right. So let me pause here. Let's start the next segment.